Hi everybody, my name is Dhillon, and I'm going to go over market segmentation and positioning. So just a brief overview of what this topic is. Um, most businesses can't be all and do all and just provide all the products that consumers need at any given time. Not every business is Amazon or Walmart. So for companies to serve their consumers effectively, these segments need to be identified. A couple of examples here, which are very popular, are the Venus razors for women, and shown here is a picture of a very smooth leg, which they advertise for women because they're more likely to have very smooth legs that they would shave. And then the Just for Men, which is a pretty obvious example of market segmentation. They've even got it to this specific color and kind of an example of the type of guy who would probably use this product. So in the textbook, the market segments are broken down in four main categories. The first one is behavioral, then we have demographic, psychographic, and geographic. The demographic gets into the age, life stage, income, gender, and even generation of consumers. Psychographic usually deals with a little bit of personality. Geographic is pretty self-explanatory, and behavioral has to do a little bit with decision roles and personalities a little bit as well. So you got your initiators, influencers, deciders, buyers, and the actual users, and those all kind of come together. So in the Harvard Business Review article that I analyzed, they broke down market segmentation into 6 different characteristics. First one, it has to be identifiable. So you should be able to identify customers in each segment and measure their characteristics, just like the ones I had mentioned, like demographics or usage behavior. Second, it's got to be substantial. So it's usually not cost effective to target small segments. So you want your market to be large enough to actually make some money. The next one sounds a little obvious, but it's got to be accessible. You have to be able to reach those segments either via communication or physical. If your distribution channel doesn't allow for you to get to that part, if it's too far logistically, it can't work. And it's also got to be stable. So in order for a marketing effort to be successful, it's got to be stable enough for a long period of time. You don't want to be in business just for a few years. You got to think long term. And this one may also be a little obvious too, but differentiable. So you don't want to have the same product that every other company has got. You want to be able to stick out and set yourself apart from the crowd. And last but not least, actionable. You have to be able to provide products and services to these segments, actually delivering upon your promises and what all those products provide. So common pitfalls with segmentation that the article goes over is that companies fail to realize that they don't really create the segments, but they instead uncover them. A perfect example would be the Flamin' Hot Cheetos that was actually discovered and created by a janitor who worked at Frito-Lay. And since then, the Hot Cheetos has turned into a multi-billion-dollar product, and it targets a very niche community. And because of that, it's been very successful. Another common pitfall with segmentation is that people tend to confuse demographics and segmentation as the same when they're not. You take British royalty here. One guy, Prince Charles, and the other one, he's Ozzy Osbourne, but they know him as the Prince of Darkness. You wouldn't necessarily market to these two individuals the same way. It'd be quite the opposite, actually. So in the article, they introduced the idea of segmentation with pregnancy tests. and there's two different kinds of pregnancy tests that people usually buy, or I guess two reasons. And one is for the hopeful, and the other would be for the fearful. So what this company called Quidal did, they're out of San Diego, they made two almost identical products, but marketed them differently to each of those groups. And it was a pretty successful campaign. They took one of their products, the hopeful product, put it in one area of, whatever pharmacy it was, and then maybe just an aisle down they put more of the I guess quote fearful pregnancy test. So they attracted consumers on both spectrums. The bad example that the article talked about was the Beak Crystal for Her pen. The market responded very poorly, or I guess passionately, about these pens, and there was many bad reviews on Amazon. And since then, Beak they just discontinued the product. They realized that they'd made a mistake trying to, I guess, single out females for pens, and they should have just been more inclusive with their overall strategy. So a couple questions that I generated from reading and I guess reading the textbook is, what would be the best way to market, or best way to segment a market in today's world? I mean, I think with the way technology is going, and kind of the way our behaviors are changing, I think the more behavioral segmentation is more important. We need to know why people are making the decisions they are to really understand them, because we can't just put people into focus groups nowadays, because that's a very old traditional way of marketing. And the other question is, how can companies avoid market backlash? And I think if they do adequate research on behaviors and I guess social climate, that could really minimize a situation like Beak did with their pens. So overall conclusion, for market segmentation, you really need to break up your market into different areas to serve different kinds of consumers. That's how you generate more business. It's almost like the less is more. You concentrate your market and you attract a substantial amount of people, and your business will grow. The company I work for right now, they're an agricultural water treatment company, and they've found a really big niche that I didn't even know existed before I got the job, and that's irrigation water treatment. When you think of farming and chemicals, you think of fertilizers, but what the company I work for does is they treat water for any sort of contaminants to make sure that their plants are getting clean water. And so since that niche has been discovered 20 years ago, they've had a really successful run in their business. It's a stable business, and I hope to be working there for quite some time. But thank you.